Alright guys, so this one's really fast, 25 minutes or so. We're going to be covering points of information. So, the smallest part of the debate, but a lot of times, sometimes the most important one. Generally, there's two types of things when it comes to points. Obviously, all of us love SQLs, and we a little bit less love answering SQLs. But generally, what would you say the idea of a POI is? What are some specific uses in which you can use the question to advance your case or your argument or something like that?
Well, as the opening part of the table, you use POIs to stay relevant to the debate after your case has been gone through. And as closing, you can use POIs either to give an analogy that would pin your argument, but an analogy that would prep your argument into working in a data report thing, answering the argument, then it really strengthens the argument, and you can use that to re-engage with opening government and closing opposition have no point to engage, so it's used to engage with the side of the table that you have no engagement with.
That's usually the correct way to do it and right way, but you can also use it to kind of trick the other opposition or position to lose some of their time if they're not concentrated enough on the question. So you can get a few minutes rid of their speech.
But that's only true if the team is bad.
Yeah.
If you ask me a question and it's irrelevant, I will just say it's irrelevant and move on. So that tactic, as far as you progress into debating, doesn't work at all, almost. You have to come up with something very smart. So the only thing that you must do is just try to position yourself in the debate and use it strategically as possible.
You want to say something?
I mean, points of clarification.
Okay.
When something isn't clear and you ask a point of clarification, you're just trying to.
But sometimes that means you waste time. So points of clarification, you ask them only if it's very relevant to your case in this sort of situation, because every point of clarification that you ask the Prime Minister means that you will not get another point and you will not ask something else. So points of clarification are not just random detail about the policy that is irrelevant, let me ask that, but is this the question for point of clarification is this very truly relevant to the debate, that I need to know this in order to debate this? If it's not, then you're wasting your time and stuff like this. If they're not delivering a model in a motion that needs to have a model, for example, what was it? It was a Dayton agreement when Janko did a preamp speech. It was this house will abolish Dayton agreement or whatever, and there can be 5 different models for that motion. Either independence for 3 countries, a unified country. There can be so many things. Everything depends on what their model is. In this sort of situation, this is the time to ask a point of clarification. But if you're going to ask, but what about insert something else, you're just going to make it confusing, and the judge is going to hate you as well. So
yeah, and always when you ask points of clarification, always wait for the Prime Minister to finish with their model, right? Because he might answer your question later on in explaining their model, and then you're going to waste POI because you would otherwise also know the answer without even asking the question. But points of clarification, although sometimes important, are less relevant because they don't happen nearly as much as points of information. So what we have up until now is the difference between closing and the difference between opening and using their points, right? Because if you use points from the perspective of closing teams, usually you don't want to reveal what your extension is going to be, especially when you ask points to first speakers, right? So in the situation where you are a member government and you're asking a POI to leader of the opposition, you don't want to reveal your extension because the Deputy Prime Minister can take this content and use it as their case, right? And then you're screwed, you don't have an extension. This is a little bit different when you are asking a POI to Deputy Leader of the opposition, where in fact a lot of teams do reveal their extension in order for the opposition to engage with this, and then for your government whip maybe to come up with answers to this and stuff like this, right? So this is something that can happen if you are sure that the opening government is not going to take your material.
So this is where some trickery can come into play. You can reveal a false extension to either of your opposition or prime minister.
That's what you were saying, basically.
And basically just basically just make but it has to be plausible enough that this is something that can be done, but something that you can say afterwards that it's irrelevant. So this means that you will ask, like a good example that I've seen is in the debate about IMF not ever requiring austerity.
Back to economics.
Yes. Closing government asked leader of the opposition, how is this going to impact the currency market fluctuations? And he got so weirded out. He spent so much time being afraid of what is going to happen, what is it going to do, and then DPM also wanted to steal it, so they explained something. But it's basically irrelevant, so you can do something like this, but I wouldn't recommend yet do that.
Right, so one of the differences is obviously like in the amount of content you want to reveal or not reveal and how you have to pay attention not to reveal your extension.
Like one thing overall before going into this, the most important thing that you're mistaken with your POIs, and I've seen this throughout the practice debates, is that your POIs when you are like intermediate, beginner or something are reactionary rather than strategically positioned. Which means that you are asking a POI just because somebody said something that triggered you to ask the POI. You don't agree with this point that they said, obviously you don't agree because you're opposing that side, or they said something stupid, or you want to rebut something like this. This is the worst way to do POIs. First of all, because you're going to do a shitty POI because you didn't thought this through, because you're going to, if they let you do a POI at that moment, you're gonna be bad. Secondly, you are then asking pretty early POIs, which is then again useless. You do not want people to give you a POI to 1 minute because they don't have to then give you the whole speech, and they have 6 minutes to come up with additional responses. The best way to give a POI is actually to give it the last possible moment, because then they have like 1 minute, and like if they fuck up, they fucked up, they cannot salvage during the speech or something like this, but also their partner has less time to react or something like this. But the best way and most important thing is that POIs, to view POIs is the tool of additional 50 seconds that you have. So from the closing team towards the opening, that might be the good opportunity to maybe rebut something that you will not then have to rebut in your speech or something like this. Or it might be good to point out some framing that you then don't have to, or then you can refer back to as a point of this. But this is something that is strategically planned. That has to be like, oh, what are we going to ask? This is a part of the debate that you often miss. People just think like, okay, you stand up and then both of you stand up and then you don't know who takes it. The point of the fact of the matter is, this is a strategic choice of the team. Who is winning now? What do I need to do? What is the flaw in our case? Did we fuck up this argument? Did we fuck up this argument? Do I need to rebuild it? Do I need to answer some point in order for my point to stand? And you need to track these things from together. This is especially important if you're top half. Like usually people finish their speeches and they either like do the on their phones or they just randomly like stand up for some POI and then they ask something that is not as productive. So that's one thing. Second thing is that you must write these things down, because the conceptualization in your head is not going to be enough, and it's never going to be as powerful as if you write it down. First of all, because your English is not that good. Nobody's English here is that good. I'm struggling with this, and I really struggle with being concise in 15 seconds so that the judge can understand me, anybody can understand me. Just by writing it on a piece of paper and being like, okay, this is my question, and then being like this in terms of judge. This is why also usually people, when they give POIs, when they're good, they're never looking at the speaker. Like I'm always looking at the judge, because I don't care what the speaker is going to say. I'm telling the judge, write these things down that I'm telling you. This is important because of some reason. So you need to break this cycle of I'm reacting to a thing. You shouldn't. Specifically because there might be something more worth reacting to later, or because there is something already more worth reacting to. And secondly, write these things down and strategically try to position it with your friends. So you already, whilst, for example, if you are a deputy leader of the opposition or something, there's a member of opposition is speaking, then you with your partner agree, what are we going to ask closing government? So this is where you have it, you cannot ask them the question, so what are we going to ask closing government? What is the best way or something? So you have 7 minutes of basically not being able to ask these POIs in the middle, so you have this grace period where you can figure out the strategy.
Yeah, so basically, let's structure this a little bit. Oftentimes, it's psychology that plays into this, both from the perspective of people who are asking POIs and from the perspective of people who are receiving POIs. So oftentimes, and this can be seen all throughout debates, speakers have this need to flag to the person who's supposed to take a POI that this is going to be on some issue. So people say, on that, or people say, like, is that true, and stuff like this. So you flag that you want to ask a question because you psychologically think that then, like, the judges are going to, like, hear you say this, and then the speaker is more likely to accept this POI. The counter side of that is that you are telling them on what the POI is going to be, right? So generally, although it is counterintuitive to some extent, you should never, and this is something similar to what Shomi said about, like, not being, they say something stupid, then people do like, I want to ask the POI, I want to defeat this and stuff like this. But generally, you should always try not to ask the POI on what the speaker is speaking at the moment, right? Because if he's speaking at the moment about something and you ask the POI, he still hasn't done all of his analysis. Maybe he has something that responds this point good. He can always go back to this point at the moment. He can frame this as sort of like a clash and not a defeating point. And he can move to other stuff more efficiently and start a new argument and stuff like this. So he has a lot of different opportunities, especially if you flag to him that this is going to be on that. But more importantly, is that you should try to ask POIs that are not in their speech, right? Because if something is in the speech, then they spend some sort of analysis thinking about how are we defeating this, what the opposition is going to say, blah, blah, blah. So their analysis is stronger than something that's not missing, that's not even there, right? So when you ask a POI that's not there, they're more likely to lose their train of thoughts, more likely to get confused, more likely not to respond this point, more likely just to go on, and then the judges are like, no response to this and stuff like that. So always try to push the question to either where the speaker is not at the moment, thus confusing them and like asking them to do something again and blah blah blah. He's not going to have they're not going to have as natural as a flow, or to ask questions which they do not contain in their analysis and stuff like this. This is probably more true from closing arguments, right? So when usually these points are to defeat their case, to not give them an opportunity to analyze their case more. Try to find the underlying assumption of something that they overlooked or something that they didn't do, analyze it all in debate and stuff like this. This is also true when POIs are asked in a way like, do you think that this is legitimate? Or like when there's a, like, do you think that this is right and stuff like this? Obviously the speaker is going to say yes, right? So vocalizing your POI in a way that you want the speaker to answer in one way in order to advance your case, but the speaker is more likely to answer in another way, is something that's never going to give you power in debate. So the way you phrase this POI when you want to ask this question is, there are 3 reasons why this is not true. And then the speaker has to, from that, go to, but it is still true despite these 3 reasons. That's the comparative versus this thing is not true. And then he says, yo, but it is, and he gives like, or they give 1 reason why this is true, right? Versus you give 3 reasons in the POI. This is something that Weber does. So he just asks a POI and he says, like, that's not true. That POI is weak. A POI where you list 3 reasons why that is not true and they have to respond to that is a stronger, much stronger POI, and the concept is the same. It's just a matter of structuring it and like writing down nicely, because you already can probably come up with some of the reasons why the POI is not true if you are asking that POI, or not asking it out of the blue and stuff like this. Also, something that's important is that, and you've seen this probably all the times in debates. And that's what speakers are going to accept the POI, and then they leave the person standing to accept, to like ask the POI. So I don't know, if I'm speaking right now and someone makes me a POI. Yeah, in 15 seconds, and then I speak, and then I give you the word. This is something that necessarily, I think, works against your favor if you're speaking, for a couple of reasons. First, the attention necessarily, at least for a slight bit, moves to the speaker who's standing up. So you don't have the whole room like standing down, you have someone who's standing up waiting for this. Secondly, you know what the person is doing during that time that he's standing up. One thing, he has a POI and he's reading it out in his head, right? So the POI is more likely to be fluent. What Miloš talked about, it's more likely, the speaker is more likely to present it better than if they were just asked to give a POI on the spot, right? So every time you do this, they have extra time to prepare themselves. The attention is on them, and at the very moment that they are prepared to make the best POI possible at that moment and to do this, right?
Yeah, but if he's aware, then he's not taking notes. If he's not taking notes, he's standing and he's just reiterating that POI, most probably he will...
So it depends on the situation, right? Because like, if that's true and you rebut it, then fuck you. Well, no, but if it's top half, then he's not taking notes anyway. So
yeah,
I mean, it depends on the situation. I'm not sure if there's a correct answer, but for example, if you're closing government and this guy has already done his speech, he's also not taking notes anyway, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't. I'm not sure that it makes that much big of a difference.
I think people are more prepared. I think that the best way to, of course, if you can do that, is to receive a POI is when the people are not ready to give you anything. So you've seen this in debates when someone goes like, is there a POI? And then no one does anything. And then they get this sort of vibe like, ooh, no responses to our case and stuff like this, right? So you have the floor, you have your speech, you can dictate when you're going to accept a POI.
You should also flag when you're going to accept a POI. That's also a very cool, how do you say, cool thing to do. Like being like, I'm going to take one at 5:30 or something. That's already 40 seconds, 30 seconds or something. And you shouldn't take a POI. So both of the incentives of the speaker and the incentives of the question asker is for that POI to be as late as possible. Like POI, like 1 minute is just gonna interrupt your, how do you say, delivery of analysis. It's gonna break the judge's attention. So before 50 minutes, you probably still didn't prove in your case in any way. You're still halfway through or something. So taking it before that, you're basically breaking the chain of your analysis. You have the potential of somebody confusing you, and you then don't deliver fully your extension or your analysis or something like that. So the incentive of both people who ask and people who answer the question is to take the POI around 5:45, 5:30, the earliest or something like this, and then not to take two, but just one or something. So this is a practically, I have never, I think in my whole debating career, I may have taken a question before the maybe once in my life. Like I've never taken, like, because it's not good. You shouldn't do it.
I mean, like, you maybe take this on specific occasions, but those are very specific. If you, for example, are closing government and you want to hear closing opposition's extension, so around minute 3, as extension speaker for government, you might ask for a closing opposition's extension. But they sometimes might. But this is in situations where both opening teams are very bad. And you definitely know the debate is going to happen at closing half. So in worst case scenario, you're engaging more with the side that's going to be in contention for first and second. And best case scenario, they're going to give you their extension, right? So they're going to do something, reveal it because there's no opening anymore, they're speaking right after you, and then your VIP has 3 more minutes to come up with responses to this extension, and he is the only one who can respond to their extension in this situation, because you only have government WIP after a member of the opposition, right? So this is something that might be helpful in terms of like tackling this, but as I said, it's very specific, usually it will happen, but there are some debates with this happening in some cases. Another thing, probably the last thing, because we are running slowly all the time, is that you also have to like answer POIs. And congratulations to those of you who did here. You guys have it probably the hardest. Reason being, the whole debate is over by the time we speak, and comparatively, opening teams have twice as much time to come up with a POI that like destroys it, right? So if they come up with a POI that is going to like, go to the extension speaker, they have more time to come up with a POI that's going to screw you even more, right?
But like, to caveat that, if your case is so weak that it can be destroyed by 15 seconds, then you're doing something very wrong.
No, but like, in terms of like, it doesn't have to destroy your case at all, but it is probably more damaging to your case than the POI that they came up with earlier, because they have more time, they know what the nuances are, and like they have other teams input and stuff like this. So if you are, let's put it this way, if you are opening a position and you ask a POI to a member of government, you have no idea what closing opposition's case is, right? So when you ask a POI to government whip, you have the information what closing opposition case is. So probably your POI is going to be better because you have additional information on how to interact with what closing opposition is saying, and maybe, you know, like balance your case out a little bit and stuff like this. But the important thing here is, obviously, if it's a POI that you can answer easily, then you're going to be happy and you're going to have this like wail of, that POI is very bad, I answered it very lightly, like, give me extra speakers. But if that's not the situation, some of the useful stuff that you can do, and this is not just for BIP, but for all of the speeches, is there's a couple of ways in which you can reduce the tension and the striking power of points. Because points are usually done in this like snippy, kind of like a little bit sarcastic way. They're full of power. The person has just like been talking for 15 minutes straight and stuff like this. So you need to take this edge off. This can be done through different ways. The first one is that you have a kind of like a go-to joke that responds to parts of their case and stuff like this. So you know, sometimes POIs are very funny and people, you know, relate to this, and then you have a joke that can answer this. Another option is to, even though if you might like still fail to answer this POI, like to mock it a little bit, you know, like be a little bit sarcastic, like really, that's your question, and stuff like this. I mean, this is something that marginally can help, but it does help in these like very tense situations where you are literally standing in front of like all these people, and someone is trying to screw you with a question, right? So no one likes answering questions in the status quo, probably. I mean, like, and then these people are intentionally trying to screw you with a question. So this can be useful as well. You can save up an important piece of content, or an important piece of analysis, or an example that you can then use, right? So if you are not sure how to answer this specific POI, then you just leave like 2 sentences, like blatant. But this is not true in specific instances when we talk about this. Then you just move on and explain your example, right? Which supports your case well. I mean, still, it's better if you answer the POI, but if you would be able to do that, then it would be great. And in situations where you're not able to do that, you need to distract the attention from the damage this POI brought to your case to something that goes into your favor. So introduce a new example, do an analogy, do something very like cheesy, maybe, you know, like something that emotionally relates to the panel and stuff like this. These are all of the stuff that you can like do, and of course, like as you debate on and on and on, the amount of POIs that are going to be really damaging to you is going to decrease, because you're going to hear so much of them, you're going to know how different things think, you're going to have a better experience, and like you're going to, the more you experience them, the better you are on stage answering them and like dealing with them and stuff like this. But these techniques are something that you can use preemptively, especially if you are sometimes afraid of POIs and stuff like this, to use them in order to like take the edge of the POI that's coming at your side of the table and stuff like this. Also, one more important thing, but you guys probably do this intuitively, it's the person who is not speaking after the person who should be asking POIs, most of the time. So that means that if the deputy leader of the opposition is speaking, then you as member government ideally should not be asking POIs. You can talk to your whip, you guys can do the POIs together, but as you said earlier, it's better if the whip does not write than if the extension does not write during these moments, and the whip still has like maybe a couple of speeches left to fill in the gaps that this lack of tension may cause, and the member of government has to speak right after, right? So in these sorts of situations, this is when the whip obviously asks the question and stuff like that. But of course, and this is something that's also really important, write your POIs down, not just because it helps you, but because it enhances the communication in between the team. Oftentimes, people, and this is also true for like extensions and stuff like this, I think Sean already talked to you maybe about this, but oftentimes teams want to like exchange POIs in between them. They're like team members. They're like, ooh, we should add this, we should add that. So first of all, you're loud, distracting, you're trying to be quiet, which is very important, because you know that you're screwed if you're too loud, which means that you're sometimes incomprehensible, you cannot get your message across. It's very, very weird to get whispered on your ear. Like, there's very few people who love this idea of like, and you're like, yeah, just leave me alone. You're in my ear space and stuff like this. So it's very easier if you write POIs on a piece of paper. Of course, you can write down comments, you can compare ideas in between the speech, you can quickly exchange a couple of words, but generally, once you're coming up with POIs, have a separate piece of paper, you write them down there, and then you discuss on the paper maybe. And also, it's very important that once you get to the POI that kind of gets the point that you want to communicate across, that's the time to polish it down, right? So if you have, let's say, 12 seconds of material, add another 2 seconds. So add 2 words or 3 words that make the POI more powerful and stuff like this. If your POI hits on the point, but it's like 6 seconds, and for example, you are opening in this debate, you are asking a POI from the perspective of opening, then add a little bit of your material in the POI and stuff like this. So once you get the general idea of this is the POI that we're going to ask, usually it takes 2, 3, or 4 repetitions of choosing the exact word in order for that POI to be really, really helpful for your case, right? And this can all be done very easily if you do this on a piece of paper, right? Because you cross a certain word, you write to your partner on the paper, this word fits in better, it conveys our message better, this word reminds the panel of the content we have, so it's better than to use this when there are synonyms and stuff like this. All of this is easier on a piece of paper, and your POIs are going to be much better. So probably we should be done by now. Just any questions? POI, yes.
So say that the POI, the person who is asking for a POI, said on point, and their question was not on point. Am I allowed to not answer?
No, you should answer it, but they are an idiot, like, because they said on point and then they weren't on point. Yay!